morning, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to Glow in the Dark Cinema. I'm your host, Mr. R. Sterling, and tonight we'll be taking a look at Genesis 2 from 1973. Directed by John Moxey, a TV and film director who you may know from The Night Stalker with Darren McGavin, Genesis 2 is a made-for-TV post-apocalypse sci-fi film. And it tells the story of a NASA scientist in the future year of 1979 who is working on a suspended animation system for astronauts during long space flights. Being the mustachioed gentleman he is, he insists on trying it out himself. Well, wouldn't you know, an earthquake hits and the lab is buried with Hunt still in suspended animation. Jump ahead to the year 2133 and our lead is discovered to find himself in a post-apocalyptic world of opposing factions who both want that sweet mustache action for their very own. But who are the actual good guys? The humans or the double belly button mutant graduates of the Zardoz School of Fashion and Mankinis? Genesis 2 was written and produced by Gene Roddenberry. As a pilot, he hoped to turn into an ongoing series. A whole lot more on that in a minute. I've mentioned before that I am a sucker for 1970s made-for-TV movies. This one does have a bit of that feel, but it much more so feels like exactly what it was, the first episode of a 1970s sci-fi TV series, which is also a winner in my Sleazy Tiki book. The film stars Alex Cord as our time-displaced scientist Dylan Hunt. Cord was a film and TV actor probably best known for his role on Airwolf from 1984, though I would say most sci-fi fans know him best from this very film. But he also did numerous memorable TV shows including The $6 Million Man, Mission Impossible, Night Gallery, and the highly underrated War of the Worlds series, Iron Horse for Life. And speaking of Mission Impossible, Cord appeared on both the 66 version and the 88 version. Next we have actor and voiceover artist Ted Cassidy as a member of the Human faction. Cassidy is probably most famous for playing Lurch on The Addams Family, but he also appeared on Star Trek and Lost in Space, not to mention numerous voiceovers ranging from movie trailers,
The Stranger, The Gunfighter, and The Gold,
all the way to cartoons such as the '79 Godzilla series in which he performed the titular giant lizard's roars. I should also mention his voice work as Officer Big Mac for McDonaldland. And lastly, but not leastly, I wanted to mention Percy Rodriguez, another of our humans. Rodriguez was an actor and voiceover artist and is probably most famous, for me at least, for his movie trailer work. Probably the best known of these would be the narration for the trailer for Jaws.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution.
He would go on to provide narration for Jaws 2, 3, and 4. But other notable works include Scrooged and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. As a big fan of and collector of classic movie trailers, Rodriguez is truly one of the greats. This isn't an effects-heavy film. It's a rather primitive world, but there are some spiffy matte paintings, and the subterranean rapid transit system, a holdover from the old world, is pretty neat looking. Now back to the pilot aspect of the film. Roddenberry had around 20 episodes planned out for the series, including one called The Poodle Shop, that would eventually evolve into the loose sequel film Planet Earth from 1974, and more on that in a minute. There's many of these episode concepts floating around, but the timeline is a little tricky, so let's take this next section with a grain of salt. For example, there's one known as Robots Return, in which alien machinery encountered by astronauts back in 1992 have evolved into a robotic life form. These alien robots would have returned to Earth searching for their god, a being known as NASA. Problem is, the outline was written several months after Genesis 2 had aired. It's very possible though that CBS had yet to pass on the series, but I don't know. And according to several sources, CBS passed on Genesis 2 to produce the Planet of the Apes series instead. It's also worth noting that Robots Return can easily be seen as the precursor to Star Trek the motion picture. As to Planet Earth, the sequel of sorts to Genesis 2, Roddenberry was determined to get his new series made, so a second pilot was shot, this one for ABC instead. It featured a more action-focused plot and most of the cast was recast, other than good old Ted Cassidy. But I won't say much more, I'd like to cover that one on its own. Eventually, in the year 2000, a series known as Andromeda would begin airing. Based on ideas from Roddenberry's archive, it would feature a lead named Dylan Hunt and various other ideas from Roddenberry's notes. And finally, the Turanians having two navels was an inside joke meant to poke fun at NBC for constantly giving Roddenberry a hard time about showing navels and midriffs in the original Star Trek series, because everyone knows NBC hates belly buttons. The score of the film was by Harry Sookman, a film and TV composer who worked on GOG, the aforementioned Planet Earth, and Salem's Lot. Genesis 2 has been released on DVD and Blu-ray. If it got a VHS, beta, or Laserdisc release, I sure couldn't find it. And I give this one 3.5 atomic popcorns out of 5. This was a great start to what could have been a great series. It's a real shame it never happened. And special thanks to Tony Santiago and Greyhawk Grognard for suggesting I cover this one. Grognard is actually a game designer who has a great YouTube channel dedicated to the Greyhawk setting in Dungeons & Dragons. If you dig tabletop role-playing games, do check it out. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, watch the skies, and stay atomic.
This is a Toyota Corona. The way Toyota experts see it. 700 tests and inspections later, this is Toyota Corona, the way America sees it. A car that goes from 0 to with room for 5, reclining bucket seats, nylon carpeting, automatic transmission, fully automatic, with performance and economy that has made the Toyota Corona the nation's #3 import. But the four-door is only half the story. There's another Toyota Corona, America's lowest priced hardtop. And that's a story all by itself.
Oh, hi, I'm Ted Cassidy. It's possible you know me better as Lurch the Butler on The Addams Family on ABC television. But here, I'd like to demonstrate a couple of things that I do in addition. In fact, I'd like you to hear them all, if you would. So, Lurch, if you'd give the signal to commence, please. I have here a machine that's supposed to make it easy to save money. It's made of a calendar, an alarm clock, an extension arm, and a piggy bank. Now, when the calendar gets to payday, the alarm rings, the hand comes out, gets some money, and puts it in the piggy bank. And the only trouble is, it doesn't work.